Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to RC Video Reviews. And I'm going to give you guys a fair warning tonight, man. I have done a complete hardware platform changeover from Windows to Mac. I'm not inexperienced with Mac. I've used Mac, quite a bit, actually. And I went into Windows some time ago because of what Mac did with their keyboards. So I'm just going to tell you guys right away. Tonight is the first time I've done a live stream from a Mac-based platform. So there could be glitches. It could be flawless. I really don't know. All I can tell you is just be patient. So first off, let's start with an audio check because it's the same hardware. My audio hardware is the same, but it is on a new platform. And this OBS install, the thing that I use for all the streaming, everything you see, the good news was all the graphics and all the work were already done, but I had to do a full port over to Mac because as far as I could tell, it's not like you can just grab the OBS folder and drop it in a new location and have everything work. So with that in mind, I'm just going to ask you guys, please be patient tonight. We may have some technical glitches. Hopefully it's not going to be painful. Rob says audio is only on the left. Okay, good. Let's see if we can cure that. 1 second. Let's see. Hopefully, let me know if that solves it. I just put it in mono mode, and hopefully that'll solve that. So put it in mono mode. It's not in stereo mode. So Rob, let me know, and if we can, audio check. What? Said David. Yeah, let me know if that solves it. I don't remember having to do that before. And there's an option here, down mixing, channel 1 input. I don't know. Did it straighten it out? It nailed it? Okay, that nailed it. Okay, so we're now in stereo mode. All right, cool. I'll leave that then. All right. The other thing, obviously, that's new, because it's a new platform, I'm still getting used to, it's fixed. Perfect. Nice. Okay, the other thing that is going to happen is that it's a different hardware platform altogether. So it's a long story. I'm going to talk about it. It's actually a subject for tonight. So I'll tell you what, let's save that. I'll get into it a little bit later. Let's talk RC stuff for a little while first. Let's get everyone warmed up. But I just wanted to ask you guys to please be patient tonight because it is a massive, massive changeover to do what I just did this week. It's a big, I was on the struggle bus for hours, hours. So anyway, Dan Griffith says it's solved. Everyone says it's solved. By the way, I can't forget the first game. Tim was in first, so congratulations, Tim. He got in pretty close after the first notification went out. So Tim got in there really fast. And then after Tim, we saw Izalku. How you doing? It's been a while since you've been around, man. I remember you, but it's been a while. And then Photios is here from Greece, which is awesome. Photios, glad you could make it. Thanks for joining. Patrick Henry says hello. Is anybody else changing their batteries yet? Great flying weather predicted this weekend. Yeah, this weekend where we are, Fred and I have something planned, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. Steve Barrow says, greeting from Tasmania. How you doing, Steve? Glad you can make it. Drummond Stewart says, good evening, pilots. Bill says, hey, folks, how you guys doing? Keith from Massachusetts is from snowy Massachusetts. So you got a nor'easter, I heard. That was fun. HB Jeff is here from Canada. How you doing? Dan Griffiths, we got you already. Money Louis, hello, everyone, says Money Lewis or Louis. Robert, another Canadian's in the house. How you doing? Midwest RC for the win. That's right. He got in fast tonight. And let's see who else is out there. Fast Freddy made it. Fred's going with me tomorrow. We're going to do a road trip. We're road tripping it tomorrow, right, Fred? You still down for that? Four Eyes is here. How you doing, my friend? David Knutz is in the house from the great state of Texas. David, how's it going? Spin Launch Glide gave me the audio check and said that we're in business. And Robert caught it being stereo. I don't know why. I mean, if it is stereo, and it's a single mic, I guess it just picks a channel to put it out on. I guess that's it. Anyway, it's fixed, so we'll move on. David says it sounds fine on my phone, and Dan Griffith says it's solved. Good. Photios hit the tip jar. That's nice. Let's celebrate their first super on a live stream. Yeah, man, that's nice. Good job, Photios. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. I'll give a little, I think I can do a little heart for that. Maybe a little, I don't know, one of those things, a little cornucopias. Fast Freddy says near 2525 to look back at this historic pilot jam. Sorry, slow to the party day. Hello, says I fly for fun. Yeah, this is a historic party jam, man. No doubt. Or pilot jam. No doubt about it. So you down, Fred? You still down to go tomorrow? Road tripping? We're gonna have fun, man. It's gonna be an event. We're gonna go up to Wings Over Georgia. That's the Extreme Flight annual event that they host up there. So that should be a lot of fun. I know we did the audio check in terms of the mono. What about the audio quality? Because if you guys remember, the last time I did a pilot jam, I had a cable failure and we were snap, crackle, pop on the cable. And that's another issue that hopefully will be fixed. So I'm still kind of, like I said, watching the levels on this new system to see how things are going to work out for me. I'm still got a blowout screen. I can't exit out of this because I'm indexing log files. I wanted to show you guys something, but the logger is taking a little while. I've been running that for a little while now. I have a lot of logs on this radio. Let's see. Tip to buy a gyro, man. We're going to talk about gyros. It's almost like Photios knew, man. Is there a spy camera in here somewhere? It's almost like he knew. We're going to talk about that. Fred says, I've already packed the OTC pain med. Nice. HB Jess is very good. Hopefully you're talking about the quality. Spin launch glides, this quality is nice. Yeah, good. Fantastic. All right. I'm happy about that. Thanks, guys, for the feedback. Okay, so obviously we missed a pilot jam last week because of soccer. Family event. We had soccer. And so we have a lot to kind of recap in terms of the week in review. And if you look at the little cryon down there in the bottom, you can see all the videos flying by. There is a ton, man. On the first video that I did since the last pilot jam was the EdgeTX 2.10 release candidate 1 tour. And again, thanks to the EdgeTX guys. You know how I feel about those guys. They're amazing. But thanks to those guys for getting that busted out. We're now on release candidate 3 already, right? I think that's the current one. I don't think I have put that one in yet, but I will. I will get release candidate 3 enabled. I am running, I think, release candidate 1 on this radio right now. And I have flown with this. This actually flew the slick right there. Release candidate 1. This radio flew that plane. So we'll talk about that plane. Next up was the video on the ETCs, the Light Systems ETCs. So I'm going to bust something new out for you guys that you haven't seen before. This is a new feature, something that I get and was actually an unintended consequence by shifting to Mac. I'll explain it when we talk about the Mac thing, but I'll show it to you now. So let's just do that. How about that? Little side camera with the iPhone. It just works right there with telemetry. Isn't that, or not telemetry, I'm reading the label right there, but it works with the live stream software. It just turns your iPhone into a secondary camera. And we all know the iPhone camera is spectacular. So it just gives me another little capability on the pilot jams to show you guys some material up close and get a nice little image on it. So hopefully you like that. Anyway. So the next video was the ETC system, and that's why I'm running the logs, because I thought I would show you guys what the slick would look like. So the slick power plant and what kind of amperage we drew on that flight. That's why I'm running the logs, and that was a result of having the ETC, this RC Light Systems ETC in the plane. I have news on these too. We'll talk a little bit about that in what's coming up. So I have some news on what's going on here. So anyway, there's that video. And then we, FMS just, oh my gosh, I love FMS. You know, we have so many interlinked topics tonight. So we're going to talk about models. I have a segment tonight on models in different planes. And the reason I want to talk about FMS is because they sell, obviously their portfolio consists primarily, as far as airborne models go, it's around EPO planes. And I'm going to tell you, you know, it's one of these deals where that airplane, you have to understand, and this is what we're going to talk about with the models, that airplane basically represents like the pinnacle of RC aviation, along with the extreme flight stuff and the precision aerobatics, which is very good, of course, and even Skywing. So these are really, like, as far as I'm concerned, these are top shelf models. And FMS, you really can't put them in that category because of the material and the power plants. So the material being EPO, it's not the same as balsa. I don't think anybody would argue that. But they look good, they're economical, and They repair easier than a balsa. If you crash that airplane hard, you need to have some skills to put it back. EPO, you can glue it back together. It doesn't normally take too much skill to put those back together. So the point of the matter is that there are very different use cases, and that's what I want to talk about in a segment later when we get into models. But anyway, FMS, man, they just unloaded. They sent me all kinds of stuff, and I have 2 more planes from them and 2 more on the way. So we already did the PA-18 Super Cub, which was an awesome airplane. And Shane, by the way, Shane has got Shane's son went home with the smaller Cub, the 1300 millimeter Cub, and that is just. I'll tell you what, guys. If you just want to have a fun plane to go knock around and goof off with, that's the one. You know, that's the one. I'll do stuff with that I don't do with my Extreme Flight or my AJ. You know, they're just fun to knock around. They're fun sport planes. And if your skill level is more on the beginner to intermediate side, I can tell you that this video, it's not a problem with the video. I was just paying attention. I'm paying attention. I'm sensitive to what's going on. But yeah, this one I did a little bit of a different edit at the back. So we will skip on to the next video. There it is. There's the Cub right there. So anyway, what I was saying is that they're just great knockaround planes. And if you're more of a beginner going into intermediate, these are really good airplanes to work on your skills. And you can see right there, that airplane, I'm flying negative ground speed. It's just a hoot, man. I don't do that with my balsa planes. And so that's what makes them fun, even if you do have the higher skill level. Dave and I, we have a lot of fun taking planes like that. In fact, you can ask Fred about it. Fred will tell you in the chat. On our last fly day, we took the Kingfisher, Fred took the Ranger, Dave had a stick, and another guy was there with the biplane, all EPO, and we were just doing bounce after bounce after bounce. We were doing a pattern, doing some loops and maneuvers, cutting each other off. It was a blast. We absolutely had a blast doing it. It was to me, it was kind of like the fellowship of flying, right? We all enjoy the sport, the hobby, whatever you want to call it. I don't think sport's a good term for it. I'd say hobby. So we all enjoy the hobby. And we had a good time. It was just, the concept is fellowship, right? We just had a good time flying together, and you do those little EPO planes, and it's fun. We just had a good time. So that FMS fits a role there. They fit a role in kind of advancing your skills, giving you something that's crashable and repairable, and giving you something that, it's not going to have crazy throws, crazy power. By the way, with all that power comes the ability to get into trouble really fast too. So keep that in mind. So anyway, that's the Super Cub. That's a fun airplane. I really enjoy that plane. The next one was, does the FMS Reflex V2 gyro handle wind well? That was actually this video that you're seeing right here. And the reason I titled the video that way was because the wind was so nasty. Look at that negative ground speed. The wind was so strong that we simply... it gave us a great opportunity to test the gyro. And I know if you guys follow the channel, for a fact, I've said, well, it's not very windy today, so we can't really see what the gyro is going to do for us. But on that day, we definitely got a chance to see what the gyro was going to do for us. So there we go. The Fellowship of the Wing. That's funny, Robert. Robert says, oh, that sounds like a beginning of a really cool movie, The Fellowship of the Wing. That is hilarious, man. Thinking on your feet. So anyway, bounce passes. That was fun 5 minutes. Yeah, man, it was. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time with it. So that's kind of how I think about those planes. And of course, if you're a beginner and you're developing skills, that they could be your primary plane. It's a good choice. They're not overpowered. But I would say what I would say about them is they do what they say they're going to do. They'll fly for 5-6 minutes, maybe 7, depending on how you fly. They've got sufficient power to do the basic sportsman type acrobatics, and it's fun. So anyway, FMS, I'm really grateful to have them as a partner because they're putting stuff out so you guys can see it before you buy it. It's not really a huge benefit to me, other than the income for the channel, which is great, getting the hits, that's awesome. But it's really nice that they're out there making that investment in RC video reviews so you guys can see what you're up against before you buy. And that's what the channel's about. Next up was the T motor, and oh my gosh, man, that motor, I can tell you, I look back on the videos and we did Dave's motor, and he did, on his Sunny Sky 40cc, I looked at the tape and he hit 4888. On my Sunny Sky 40cc, I was closer to 4500 watts. And on the T motor, we were at 49 and change. So these motors are just insane. 5,000 watts on a 78 inch plane. And then of course I get the corrections on watt as a consumptive measure of power output and all that. I know. Every time we talk about it, somebody wants to give me an education on power and watts and current and all that stuff. So that's fine. But you know, the idea is that you use watts as a relative comparison against your weight. And I always look for something in the 3D space at 250 watts per pound. And with that, I generally feel pretty good about the way an airplane performs in the sky. So that's why I always include the wattage, but we also talk about current and we talk about thrust to weight because that matters too. You can have all the thrust in the world, but if you're flying a brick, it doesn't really much matter now, does it? So, you know where I learned that lesson was with some little Miata. I was on a motorcycle and I had a Miata running next to me and I was like, what in the hell is going on here? And my motorcycle was a VFR 800, so it wasn't like a leader bike, but it was fast. And that little Miata hung with me. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, so that was that. The T-Motor, all I can say about the T-Motor AM780 is wow. And they're about to release more. They're coming up soon. So I don't have the exact launch dates. It's supposed to be this month. But yeah, keep an eye out if you're looking for something in that 78-inch plus class. Keep an eye on the T-Motor site. That's all I can tell you. It's coming. Next up was the FMS Kingfisher, and that was fun. We did something very different on that one. The idea on that was to take it to the field. I've seen videos in the past where they did this, right? They took a, glider build or whatever, and they did it at the field. And I thought that would just be fun to try out. Why not? So I brought the airplane and I called Fred. I didn't give Fred much of a chance to back out. We were on our way to the field and I called him. I said, hey man, I got a new idea today. He said, really? What's that? And I said, we're going to do a field build of an airplane. And he's like, oh, okay. And I said, but you're going to do it. And he's like, okay, game on. So Fred's a good sport, right? He took on the challenge and he did it. And that was fun. That Kingfisher is another one of those planes. It's a fun knock around plane. So that's a nice airplane. It has floats, had the skis, had the big wheels. It did fine. It was good. It's a good flyer. Next up was the AJ. Oh my gosh, man. We're going to talk in detail about the AJ, but that AJ, that was my first one. Dave's been kind of riding my behind to get an AJ for a while. And I honestly kind of resist. Look at that spot landing on the Cub. That was so fun. I've been resisting on the AJ partially because the wings aren't quick disconnect. And I got to be honest, man, the Skywing stuff and the Extreme Flight stuff spoiled me on the quick disconnect. It's such a nice feature to have. But, Dave made a good point. He's like, look, man, there are a couple plastic screws. We're out there goofing off, talking BS, and just put the screws in. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I feel a little, it's first world problems, right? But, I'm kind of glad I got over my hangups with the with the AJ because, boy, what a pleasant plane to fly. And I'm going to tell you guys something too. Just full disclosure, all honesty. When I was flying the 78-inch NG, I was doing some maneuvers and I had some 6L 5000s, and I think that's a little heavy for that plane. They were 75C batteries, heavy. And I came out of a maneuver where I was doing this light wing loading thing, like a flat spin or something like that. And when I pulled out and started to flatten out and accelerate, I saw a wing drop. And I said, Dave, did you see that? He goes, yeah, I did. I said, what the hell was that? And I'm pretty sure it was some form of a stall. And anyway, I think I've resolved it now by just putting a little bit of a lighter set of batteries in there. I think that kind of helped get me out of that little envelope where weird stuff like that happens. And I'll tell you, flying the AJ, I didn't see any of that. None of that. Now, be fair to the NG. It's because I put too much weight in the damn thing. Okay, so let's be fair to the NG. I'm just telling you, I didn't see any weird behavior on the AJ Slick at all. Very, very pleasant plane to fly. And another thing that I noticed on the AJ, if you look at the video, the rudder on that thing is tall, tall. And if you fly 3D, you understand one thing, the rudder freaking matters, man. You use the rudder all the time. It's kind of like flying a helicopter. So the tall rudder, at first I was like, man, that looks a little strange. But once I put it in the air, I don't care. I don't care. That rudder authority was amazing, as evidenced by those pop tops. So the 2010 prop, that great big rudder, you get that momentum going and you burn into that pop top and snap it really hard. It was just violently crazy how that thing spun around. It was so fun to watch. The first time I did it, it almost took my breath away. I mean, not nervous. I was like, wow, that is cool. Especially because on some airplanes, I struggle to get them to do even one rotation. But not that thing, man. That AJ, boy, that thing just whips around like crazy. It also goes over on the lateral axis like nuts too. It's really something else. So that is a good airplane. And, you know, they're priced what I would say is competitively. Like the airframe with shipping is priced competitively with the other top shelf offers. So it's good stuff, man. And then, of course, the PilotJam. So that wraps up our week in review. And before we go any further, I'm just going to go back and check comments, and then we are going to get moving. So let's see. Quality is nice. We're back on the microphone. Rob says the audio sounds fantastic. I'm glad to hear that, because I'll tell you, you know, the night that happened, you guys were telling me we're hearing a little snap, crackle, pop on the audio, and it really bothers me because I spent a lot of time putting this together, and that's not something that was, you know, it's like it was a cable. It turned out to be a bad cable. What the hell, man? How does a USB cable go bad in an office environment? Nobody else touches anything. I don't even get it. So I'm glad the quality is good. I'm glad we got that worked out. By the way, that's another reason I switched from Windows to Mac, because I got tired of all these goofball little errors that I was seeing. So anyway, Stan Heaton says, good on the audio. Perfect. Robert says, hey, Junior, in reference to Bill. Happy eclipse to all, says Four Eyes. I know, you know, one of the guys I work with is going to Wyoming, I think, to watch the eclipse. Anybody traveling to that one? Dan Griffith says, no static in my hearing aids. Awesome. Awesome. Robert says 2.32 to 1. Oh my gosh, on that new plane. Yeah, right. That was nice. The thrust weight on that is really nice. You know, when you're above 1, you can climb, you can accelerate going up, right? Vertically. That's the argument. So when you see anything over 1, that's pretty cool. When you see over 2, that's insane. So a lot of power to pull out of stuff. Robert says, hopefully none of your texts pop up on the camera phone. Yeah. I got to put it in do not disturb mode, but I don't think when we do that, I don't think that one shows the text, right? So I don't think it shows that, but isn't that nice? I think that's a nice little feature. That's kind of cool. And you even get the bokeh effect back here. Everything's out of focus back there. So it's cool, man. The iPhone camera is really good, but I thought that'd be a nice little addition to the PilotJam to let you guys get a different look and a different perspective on things. So that's kind of cool. I like it. So let's see. Spin Launch Glide says, I just picked up a PA Addiction X. You know, that's one plane that I've actually considered buying from PA. I keep thinking about it. I'll be curious to hear how it goes for you. I know the PA Addictions have a huge following, and the people that have them swear by them. So I'd be curious to hear how it goes for you. Bill says, hey, Pops, how's it going tonight? Very good. Snowed in again this morning up in Canada, man. Not fit for humans. Fred says the bounce passes were fun. We covered that. Oh, there. Sounds like the beginning of a really good movie. Got that. The Fellowship of the Wing. Captain Bry, how you doing, Captain Bry? Good to see you, my friend. Glad you could make it. If you guys don't know, Captain Bry is one of the prime developers on Express LRS. He's here. We're going to talk about Express LRS in the Q&A. I got something for you. Build video at the field was pretty cool. Thanks, Robert. Yeah, we had fun. There it is. That's the build video right there. It was fun to do. And, you know, I said the manual said something like it takes 5 or 10 minutes to put it together. And I said it took us an hour. Dave and I actually filmed the radio configuration, but it was just too long. This video by itself was a half an hour. And when I added the radio configuration, it made it more like 40 minutes. And I can tell you that during the assembly of this video, there were 3 of us talking and kind of carrying on a little bit. And I do think if you have experience putting these types of ARFs together, that you could put it together in 10 minutes. It wouldn't take that long. In the radio configuration, that probably took another 15 minutes because we were filming and I was explaining everything as I went along. So if I were doing that configuration on my own, I'd probably have that done in about 5 or 10 minutes, or I'd use a template and, you know, be done in 2 minutes. So anyway, very, very fast assembly on that Kingfisher. So that was a lot of fun. All right. If left to my own, Flat Rat 3 says, hi, I'm late. FD says, great bike, the VFR. I'm a KTM guy. I've never owned a KTM, but the VFR, man, that was a special bike. VFR 800. I actually gave that to my oldest son when he was old enough to ride. And I got too old to ride that thing. But yeah, they are very good bikes. I've never owned a KTM. I've thought about them a couple of times, but never owned one. Anyway, Fast Freddy says, if left to my own, it would have taken me 3 weeks to get that plane together. Nah, man, we would have got you. It's simple. You said right there in the thing, we talked about the manual. I said, what do you think of the manual? Fred goes, well, I like it. A lot of pictures. That means I don't have to read very much, which is accurate. You know, with the pictures, that's the point. So it was an accurate assessment. Robert says, your first flight on that, the flight time was freaking amazing on the AJ. Yeah, the AJ did real well on flight time. I think depending on how hard you want to push your batteries, I think that's an easy 6 to 7 minute flyer. So, okay, that covers the weekend review. And so far, it feels like the stream has been going pretty well. I'm not seeing any errors. And by the way, if you didn't notice, this is another thing that I wanted to tell you guys about. In fact, it's next topic up. So why don't we just jump into that? And that is the migration of the Mac. Okay. So one thing I wanted to tell you guys, I've been trying to stream in 4K for a long time. And in order to do it, YouTube requires a certain bit rate. And for whatever reason on my PC, even though the PC itself, the CPU, the video card were all top shelf, and the network card was top shelf, and the network itself is pretty darn good because I test it, every now and then, you guys know, and I'm not saying the problem's gone, but every now and then I would just all of a sudden start getting queuing for some reason. Well, tonight we've been on 4K the whole time, 14,180 kilobits per second, which is the level you need for YouTube live streaming to get 4K. And so far, when I look over at the stats monitor on the stream, YouTube has been telling me it's been an excellent connection the whole time. So I've been keeping an eye on that, and it looks good. So, you know, I don't know. I want to be careful because I don't want to say, well, we solved the problem, and then next week I have the same type of network issue. But what I would say is that right now it seems to be doing pretty darn good, and everything looks like the video there seems to be doing well. I don't see any stuttering over there. The network performance looks solid. Hopefully you guys have said the audio is looking solid. So again, live stream, right? I'm trying to get this thing, even though I've been doing this for a couple years now, I'm trying to tune those dials so we get the best quality live stream I can get. So anyway, that's that. Let me go. I want to show you the blackboard. No, it's actually the workspace. I got to minimize a few things here, and I'm going to bring up the workspace for you guys. And I want to show you the Mac arrangement. If you guys ever wanted to get an idea of what goes on behind the scenes, here it is. This is the studio. So right now I'm sitting in that chair, got that microphone on my right, and the way this works is over here on the left, I've got, I guess my mouse isn't going to go there, but over here on the left, I've got a laptop. Now, I told you I was migrating to Mac. Here's the deal. I will be buying a Mac desktop, but the one that I want is due to be refreshed soon. I bought myself a Mac laptop a few months ago, and it's an M3 MacBook Pro. And that's what you see. Let me bring up a camera because I'm sitting here trying to point. That's what you see over there. That's the MacBook Pro on that shelf over there, all the way over there on the left. So the idea I had was, number one, they're due to refresh the desktop soon. So I don't want to buy one that's about to be obsolete, right? That's going to be a generation old already. So, and number two, I didn't want to spend the money on the desktop until I had a chance to run some of this live streaming and some of my production work, my video editing, for example, on this computer. So for that reason, I thought, I've got an M3 MacBook Pro. Allegedly, they're pretty good at video. I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. I'm gonna try it, and I set myself up an environment where I put my video editing software, which is DaVinci Resolve, my video streaming software, which is OBS. I had to move everything over and get it all set back up again, which was a monumental effort. Let me tell you, just getting DaVinci working again took me some time because I had all these projects that I had to import when I do a video, all those stingers and graphics and the audio effects that I use. Those are all common. That all had to be migrated over to the Mac from the PC. And then OBS, man, I'll tell you what, that was a full day of work to get OBS in a working state. So the idea then is that I'm going to try the laptop for a while. Right? We're going to use it for a little while. And if it all works out the way I think it's going to work out, then I'll make the investment in the desktop. So that is the migration of Mac. And my effort here is not so much that I didn't like the Windows computer, but I had these weird little errors, and it used to just make me nuts. Like, the audio crackling thing, just the network, they were not predictable, like not resolvable. There wasn't anything like I couldn't say, well, I see the problem. It's because I'm not connected to the right Wi-Fi, the correct Wi-Fi network, right? I couldn't figure, it was random. So I can't take that. And that's why I decided to give the old Mac another shot. And I'll also tell you that they did fix that stupid keyboard issue on the Mac. They're not using those ignorant butterfly keyboards anymore. They fixed that, which was one of my primary gripes. And another reason I left Mac in the first place, if you guys remember back a couple years ago, they were selling the MacBook Pros with the latest gen Intel CPU, but they were throttling them on performance because they didn't have sufficient cooling. So it was killing me that Apple was charging a premium for a MacBook, and then you were getting the latest gen Intel CPU or one gen behind, and it was throttled. I was just like, no, that's not okay with me. And that's when I switched over to Windows after having been on Mac for like 10 years. Now, that said, I will keep Windows handy because the brutal reality is that in RC, not everything is done for both platforms. You have to have Windows in order to run some of the utility software that you need. And so for that reason, I'll keep Windows handy, but the Mac will become the primary compute platform. It'll be the primary streamer, my primary, desktop, my primary video editor, and the Windows machine is going to get relegated to second chair, right? It's going to be the machine that gets used to, diddle around with RC stuff when I need those types of utilities. So that's it. That's it on the migration of Mac. 4i says, is that precious? The answer is no, it's not. It's not precious. So it is not. Okay. All right. Next up, Wings Over America. This is cool. I was looking forward to showing you this one. So let's see. It still does some weird things I have to get used to, but let's go ahead and bring up the workspace. And I wanted to let you, we're going to put the Mac away. There we go. We don't need the camera. I'm going to put the camera away. There we are. And you guys see the little chat window. I can hide that now because now I have two monitors, which is cool. Okay. So Wings Over America, this is an extreme flight event. It's in Andersonville, Georgia. It started already a couple of days ago, and it goes through the weekend. So Fred and I will be heading up there. Fred and I are going to go. We're going to make the road trip, and we went last year. It's absolutely a beautiful field. The extreme flight guys are there. The team pilots wind up showing up. They come in and do some flying. And it's not really like a sales event or an expo, or, it's not like they have a lot of stuff out for sale. They do have some, but it's not like they bring a truckload of planes and do crazy flea market deals or anything. But we're going to go just to get some footage, just because really good pilots, nice airplanes, real nice company up there. So Fred and I are going to go ahead and go. So Wings Over America, it's one of the events that is on the event calendar in Discord. And that's another reason I kind of wanted to bring that up with you guys, was to give you an idea that on Discord there is an events section, and I'm putting events in that section where there's going to be an RCVR presence this year, whether it's me and Fred, Fred and Dave, so you guys will understand what's going on. So if you haven't been on Discord yet, make sure you pop in there and join the Discord, because that's where I release that type of information. Okay, so Wings Over America, that's tomorrow. That means there won't be any field videos for me flying. So no airplanes, no helicopter work this week for me, but we should get some really nice flight material from the crew, from the Extreme Flight crew and the attendees at the event. So let's see. I'm going to check comments, and then we'll go. If it is, she has a dark side. So we're talking about Precious, Robert. Does Robert need Precious? I don't know. I haven't heard a nasty joke yet, so we'll see. We'll wait and see if I see one. If I see a nasty joke, then Precious has to come out. All right, that's it for Wings Over America. Next up is about models. Okay, I told you guys we were going to have a little discussion about models today, and what I want to do, we're going to put this one away, and we're going to bring this one up, And hopefully what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk a little bit about power on the slick. So I've got the Shmooly log viewer. If you guys aren't familiar with that, there it is. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So you can see what's going on there. And let's see, the log file. There was only 1 day of flying, but we're going to look for the 5-minute flight. And we'll tune this down just a little bit. Every second line should be good. And I'll hit next. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I mentioned to you guys we got to select the sensors. I'm interested in current. That's what I want to see. So there's current. We'll do voltage too. We'll do RX bat right there. And then I'll also do, because it's interesting, I'll set this one to scratch and I'll set the last one to be T-power. Because I always like to see how the radio does. And then we'll hit next again. So it reads everything. And there we go. Now, if you guys recall, these little ETC converters, I have news about these. These are RC Light Systems. So there we go, rclightsystems.com if you want to buy one for yourself. The radio, now the cool thing about logging and the way I set up my radios is that I always turn on SD logging. You turn on SD logging, don't you? Don't you? You do, right? Turn on logging. If you come into Discord and say I crashed, one of the first things, and you don't know why, one of the first things we're going to ask for is your log. So log if you don't do it. It's not hard to do. You don't even need to be as fancy as all of this, but you definitely should be logging. Okay, so anyway, there's the log file from the slick, and the reason I'm showing this to you is because I thought I would show you one of the benefits you get out of that ETC converter, and here's a good example of it. So right there on my log file, this is a maiden, right? I can get into my radio during a maiden flight, or not during, obviously you're not going to do this during, but after a maiden flight, or just even ahead of a maiden flight when you're doing bench testing, to get an idea of how you're doing in terms of performance, right? So there's a 61 amp pull. That's not too bad. I'm going to see if I can zoom this out a little bit. So that gives you a better idea. And you can always see this inverse relationship between current right there and voltage, right? I had to get my pointer. Shut up. Don't judge me. Robert, don't judge me. Anyway, there we go. So we'll just move this over and I'll scrub with the wheel and we'll hit this mark right here for current just to see what was going on there. 74 amps. Now, if you remember, when I built this plane, I talked to Rob, and Rob has been flying this for a while, and he's also the guy that kind of got me interested in Scorpion. I resisted Scorpion for a long time because they're spendy, but he got me interested in it. I tried it out, and on this plane, he put in an 80 amp ESC, and I thought, wait a minute, 80 amps, that's kind of cutting it close. And he goes, nah, it's fine. And so I wanted to give you guys a look during that flight, what I saw in terms of peak power. And you can see that so far the peak that I've seen was 74, right? So there's 72, and it's not because the motor is lacking. If you do a static power draw on this thing, it'll come in pretty strong, but it's because when you're dynamic, you just don't hit the current the same way you do when you're static. So anyway, that's the point, guys. And then also notice the voltage. I get my actual voltage here. So even though I'm running Express LRS, I still get the actual voltage because it comes in from the ESC itself. It's not voltage on an Express LRS pad. The voltage is coming from the ESC through this telemetry converter, which is why we get the voltage. We get the 12S voltage right here on the radio. So that was the first half of that conversation. I told you I wanted to talk a little bit about models, but the next thing I want to get into on models is this idea, because it's a conversation piece that comes up frequently, and that's that how many of these sport type planes do you need, and what's the difference? And I get asked, one of the questions I get asked a lot is in a given class, like the 67-inch class, for example, which one is better, which one do I like better, which one flies better. And, you know, if you listen to the videos, you'll listen to Dave. Dave has an affinity for AJ. Dave definitely likes AJ, and I can understand why. And I'm starting to like AJ, to be perfectly honest with you. So the idea behind this conversation on models is that one thing I can tell you, having flown so many different ones, you know, NGs, extras, ARSs, edges, slicks, and different models from different manufacturers, is that there's no question in my mind that they all have different personalities. Every single one of them, game birds, lasers, right? They all have different personalities. So you can look at a plane and say, well, it's a mid-shoulder, you know, 3D plane with symmetrical airfoils and no dihedral with huge throws. Aren't they all the same? The answer is no. I almost wish that there was an RC plane rental business, because I mean, I would love the opportunity to just go fly everything and find out, hey, this is the one that works the best for me. I also try, you know, we talked a little bit at the end of the AJ video, and I said, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to call it out. And I normally don't. I normally don't do, you know, this versus that, because there are personal points of view and personal differences in what we like in our planes. So I try and avoid trying to say this one's the best. I try and give you an assessment of what I think based on my ability to fly the plane. But what I would say is that when I compare the two, the slick from Skywing and the slick from AJ, if I could only take one of those planes to the field, for me, I would take the AJ every time. And the weird part is I really like the Skywing slick. It's a good airplane. Same thing about the FMS. You know, I brought up the FMS stuff, and you can see that over on the side there a little bit. They have a lot of different offerings in the same format, but they all have slightly different personalities. Some are a little bigger, some are easier to see, some are mid-wing, some are low-wing, some are heavier, some are faster, some are meant to fly fast. One that comes to mind is the Pilatus, the PC-21. That one likes to go fast. It flies really well when it's moving fast. And these stall planes are a little bit more on the beginner side. You know, they're a little bit more stable, easier to handle. They self-level, you know, they're designed to be a little bit nose heavy, just a touch. So they tend to be very stable planes. But the argument here, the point about models and what I wanted to cover tonight, is that you really owe it to yourself, if you're interested in flying one of these planes, or more importantly, buying one of these planes, and that's to check with the manufacturer. Check with them, because if you ask Extreme Flight and you say, hey, what's the difference between a game bird, a laser, an edge, and an extra, they're gonna give you some feedback. They're gonna say things like, well, this one's got a longer tail moment, this one wads up better, this is more of an XA plane, this is more of a 3D/pattern plane. They're gonna give you feedback like that. And the other thing that I would say about models is that your ability to fly and manage a craft in the air might be different than mine. The things that you know how to do, the things that you are comfortable doing, they might be different than mine. And for that reason, you might have a very different taste. That's the rough thing about being a reviewer. You don't ever want to go in and say, I think this is a terrible plane, because I think Antonio put it very eloquently. If you don't know, Antonio is a team pilot at Extreme Flight, and he's the guy who made my 78-inch NG. And he said, I take a lot of support calls, and what I would say is that there are no bad planes, there's just bad setups. And that is a lesson that I honestly am taking to heart. Now, once you get it set up the way you want it, if it's not as aggressive, if it doesn't have the rudder authority, if it doesn't wad up the same as what you want, then sure, you know, maybe change the airframe. But I guess the moral of the story, there was a guy, when I was looking at the PC-21 for the first time, which was like 2 years ago, I made the mistake of reading reviews on a website about it. And this one guy left a comment. I will never forget the comment. I think it might have been on Motion RC, but it's not relevant, the website. But it was a list of comments, and all the comments on this plane were like, flies great, takes off fine, lands fine, flaps work great, looks good in the air, blah, 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 blah. Just comment after comment after comment after comment. And then one cat jumps in and he goes, this plane's a piece of crap. I took off, and as soon as I got off the ground, I went to make a turn, immediately flipped over and rolled it in and put it in the dirt. And I thought, okay, if you have 15, 20, 30, 40 independent voices saying it's good, and you're the sole voice saying it sucks, you're probably the one doing something wrong, right? I'm just calling a spade here. So I'm going to go back to what Antonio said. These models, they generally, not 100%, generally don't get released and put out there and gain any degree of popularity if they're terrible flyers. Now, relative to another plane, sure. Yeah, and what you like to do, absolutely. Like that Kingfisher against the AJ, that's not even a fair comparison, right? It's not worth saying, well, this one doesn't do this and that one does. That's not fair. And that's something that Dave, by the way, if you listen to Dave is a very insightful guy. When I fly the jets, for example, and I go inverted and they kind of nose down, I'm like, well, it's not very neutral. Dave's like, but it's a jet. It's not a symmetrical wing. You want it to be a little nose. He reminds us that those planes are meant to fly differently than 3D planes. So just keep that in mind when we do the reviews. We are trying to assess the plane for what it is, not against the impossible standard. And the laser video, when I said I'm going to say it, Fred goes, oh, it's the best plane ever. I'm like, nope, I don't. I try to avoid that. And the laser, that is a tough mountain to climb. That's a very good airplane. So I try and avoid that. But what you got to do is I try and evaluate the plane for what it is. And that's, if you're asking questions about the models and why, that's why. They all have different personalities. They all fly. They all have a different way of behaving while we're out there. And it's fun to try them all out. So all I can say is, it's a great community. If you buy something you don't like, sell it, pass it on to the next guy, give him a deal, and go get something that you do like. Don't get too hung up about it. That's what I would say. If the plane's not working out for you, go ahead and move it on to the next guy. Let someone else take a crack at it and go try something new. There's a lot of options out there, that's for sure. All right, let's check comments and we'll move on. Precious is definitely appearing in the Fellowship of the Wings. Yeah, she would look good as an orc. Robert is flirting with Precious, so I just had to get Precious out and let him have a look. All right, he's flirting. I heard it. There it is. Full frontal. Hold on. There we go, Robert. Does that make you feel better? You were missing her, huh? Okay. She would look good as an orc. That's funny. You might not like the picture of the log I'm sending you, John. Uh-oh. Think you hit 94 amps on your static test for your volts, watts, amps. Oh, 94. Yeah, but that is static, and that's also momentary. All right, so just keep that in mind. 94 is fine. No worries. No worries at 94 on an 80 amp ESC. I'm not concerned about that at all. Steve Barrow, you have to fly as many as possible. Yeah, I mean that's the point, right? You just want to try them all out, and all I can say as a reviewer, I just try and give you my objective assessment the best I can. But you guys got to keep in mind, man, don't let influencers or people on YouTube talk you into stuff that doesn't work for you. Don't fall for that. And realize that your skills and capabilities may be different than mine, maybe better, maybe not quite at my level, and that's okay. It's fine. It's a journey. It's not a moment in time. It's a journey. Keep that in mind. You have to give the plane props for what it can do. That's right. No pun intended, right, Robert? No pun intended. You got to give it props. Get it for what it can do. Hey, look at that. Even the rim shot showed up again. Pretty cool. All right. That's it on the models. I just wanted to spend a minute on that because it's an interesting subject, and there are a lot of them out there. And all I can say, they all have different personalities, and I love flying all of them. I really do. All right, that's it for, if you guys noticed, there was no 3D RC this week, and there was no deep technical session. The reason for that was because I spent my time either filming videos, editing videos, or migrating to the new system, which so far seems to be performing very, very well. I'm very pleased with our first live stream on a Mac. I'm really pleased with it so far. Hope you guys are. Let me know if the experience has been good for you or if you've noticed any issues, but so far I'm delighted. Seems like it's going quite well. All right, next up is Q&A. And Q&A, by the way, I had to reinvent the way I did this. Oh, and you can tell, look, my Q&A text is not quite right. So I have to make an adjustment there. Let me make that adjustment. That's not right. That's what I'm looking for, right about there. I'll make that perfect later, but see, that's a little thing that I missed in setting up. Anyway, I had to make an adjustment on the way I present these, but I think I got it worked out. It actually works pretty well. So first question in Q&A came from Wouter Vandernooker. Did I get that right? I hope I got it right. Wouter is one of my favorite comments of the week. So thank you, Wouter. I appreciate you. Very nice comment. This video is worth its length in gold. I appreciate you, man. That was a new Boxer video. So my favorite comment of the week. Appreciate it. All hail the Orc Queen. That's funny. Yeah. All hail the Orc Queen. Poor Robert. Next up was Alex Garsky, 931. He says, hello, man. I see you have a lot of... Okay. See, you have a lot of knowledge. I just got mine running Edge. I come from Spectrum. Glad to see that. I've been trying to arm my ESC on my plane, but can't manage to get it to arm. Suspect the throttle's not low enough to arm, but can't figure out how to change. I switched the plug on the receiver to rudder just to say, okay, any thoughts or advice? You guys got to get on Discord, right? I know Robert will do me a favor and post the Discord link, or Rob Barrow, Bender, he'll do it. Somebody will do it. But get on Discord, guys. These questions where you have something in this complex, it just doesn't lend itself well to YouTube. So get on Discord. That's the place to be. And we can answer your questions. We'll help you. Get on Discord, but on YouTube, it's just terrible. It doesn't allow interactivity. That's the problem. Okay. So let's see. Next up is, MindDogisk 1638 says, not excited at all with ELRS. I have TX16. So Brian, I told you we'd be talking about ELRS tonight. This is what it was. So not excited with ELRS. I have a TX16S Mark II, and on the config, I check Express LRS screen, just get blank and does nothing. Firmware update didn't help at all. So my response to this is actually very simple. Number one, we know Express LRS works, period. Full stop, it works. So it's not a question of the software. So in this response, the issue is either a hardware fault, like your module's bad, it's not plugged in right, you burned it up, you bent your pins, who knows? Could be some kind of hardware fault, or you have a configuration error. It's one of the two. It's simply absolutely not a freaking question on whether or not Express LRS works. It does. Full stop. It works. Okay, so now with that said, again, get on Discord, because I'm not going to troubleshoot these types of problems in a back and forth manner that takes a day at a time. Get on Discord and we'll help you out. But what I can say is that I hope that this individual doesn't walk away from Express LRS saying that's a crap technology because they couldn't get it to work. It works. You just have to do your homework, be a little bit patient, and once you start to get it, I can tell you guys right now, for those of you who've been interacting with KFab on Discord, KFab's a good friend of mine from Arizona, and he stepped away from RC for a little while, came back in, and he said, hey, what's this Express LRS? What's this TX16S about? I gave him a few videos, he asked a few questions, but now I can see him already in our Discord helping other people out. So he went from being somebody that was making phone calls and asking for help to now giving it. It doesn't take that much effort. And I got to be honest with you, I really don't think there's anything left that the developers can do. They've made it, as far as I'm concerned, for all the capability that we get on that technology, I think they've made it about as simple as it can be. Of course, there's always room for little improvements here and there, maybe some bug fixes, that kind of stuff. But if you're having problems, don't get frustrated. Just get in Discord and ask for help, and people there will help you. That's the point. That's the moral of the story. I can't and I can't really address these types of questions on YouTube because the question's not clear enough. I click on the Express LRS screen. Is it the Lua? Did you download the right Lua? Do you have, what firmware did you flash? Do you have 2? Do you have 3? You know what I mean? It's hard to figure these things out without having the ability to interact. So get on Discord. And you also, by the way, one other thing you have to make sure, and I told him this in the comments, I'm like, make sure that you have it turned on in your model settings. Make sure you have a baud rate set in your system settings. Those are obvious things, but this, again, it's hard to do if you're just one-offing, right? All right, next up, Big F Hands, and he did join Discord, as a matter of fact. He said, anyone have any tips for nervousness when flying? Simulators. I mean, just get that simulator out. And practice, keep doing it. That's all I can say. Just keep flying and work on that simulator. So I think he's actually in Discord asking questions about sims, but my answer is one of the very first purchases you should make getting into RC is a simulator. You got to have one. They teach you muscle memory. They help you calm down. And when I learn a maneuver in my simulator and then I go try it at the field, it's no longer a question of being nervous. It's just a question of executing. So simulators are the 100% answer to this question. Make sure you get one. And fly. One way you can become an expert at what you're doing is by doing it. So fly. Wolfie. So this is one of the reasons I had the models section. Not going to lie. Dave said, well, dang, you've gone and done it again. You found something else I want in my hangar. Nice job. Great flying. Camera work and commentary. The RCVR gang did a great job covering the important information we need to hear and help us make good purchases. So, Dave, yeah, this is it, right? It's there. My response to Dave in YouTube was so many models and I want to try them all. So there are so many different models out there. And what I would tell you guys is go spend your money, man. Just go spend your money. Treat yourself to something nice. I know it can be expensive, but if you can manage, do what you can. If you get a 48-inch, great. 60-inch, great. 67-inch, fine. Just go out there and treat yourself and do what you can and enjoy it. And that's kind of my job, is to try different things and see what works and try and make those relative comparisons. So Dave, congratulations. You got me thinking about this for a topic tonight on the Pilot Jam. So thank you. Thanks for the comment. All right, next up, Hobby Pilots. He says, thanks. I'm stuck. Let's see. He says, I'm stuck, and my situation is my models are, here's another one. My models are in 2.5. I try to go back to 2.3, which I think he means OpenTX, because I think EdgeTX, didn't it start at 2.4 if my memory serves, or somewhere really close? And I think to EdgeTX, and it's an OpenTX video. So I think he's trying to go back to 2.3 by using document save as. It's not working. Models were the same, some strange numbers. This is another one of those scenarios where this question is just, listen, Hobby Pilot 794, not for nothing. This question is a disaster, man. It's a disaster. There's no way somebody's going to be able to help you with this. You have way too much going on here. But what I would say for the rest of you is before you migrate anything, make sure you have a backup of your data. That's the first thing you do. Back up your SD card. Don't migrate or adjust anything unless you have a backup of that SD card before you start. And if you do, I'm just going to laugh at you, because that's common sense, man. Have a backup. Anyway, if it sounds to me like the question is, I want to go from EdgeTX 2.5 back to OpenTX 2.3, and I can't. Well, I got news for you. You can't. There is no conversion utility to go from YAML back to binary that I know of. The only way you can do that is by restoring a backup. So it says the reason my models are saved in 2.5, not 2.3. I don't know what to do. Any advice from your side? Get on Discord, man, and hopefully you had a backup. But if you have a backup, you can flash OpenTX, erase your SD card, restore your backup. You'll be back in business, and I could restore that radio in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Depends on how long the SD card copy takes. That's it. All right, RC Aviator. This is another comment that led to the conversation about models. He says, I believe I'd try a 910 prop to lower the amps a little if the plane is a little too fast to take an inch off the pitch. AJ makes good stuff. That's all 100% accurate. He's 100% right about that. If you want to reduce, by the way, reducing pitch also will reduce your current draw a little bit, because you're just simply not consuming the same amount of energy, because Well, you know, I'm going to hold on a minute. I'm not going to say that. I retract my statement. I'm going to leave it there. What I do know is by reducing the diameter, you do reduce the current. That is a fact. Pitch, I believe it does as well. I think it's normally like a trade-off of 1 inch of diameter and 1 inch of pitch. So those are the normal trades. And so if you give up 1 inch of diameter, you can add 1 inch of pitch and keep your current about the same. And if you give up 1 inch of pitch and add 1 inch of diameter, you keep your current about the same. It's not exactly correct, but I think that's a general rule of thumb. But yeah, you can, if you want to adjust your load, your current draw, you can do it obviously with changes to the prop. You can also do it with a throttle curve, and you can also do it by manipulating your endpoints if you want. The cool thing is lots of different ways to handle it. But the reason I put this one in the comments tonight was because Dave actually, on his 78-inch NG, he's like, yeah, you know, I don't need 3-to-1 power to weight and, you know, 350 watts per pound. I'm happy with 250, 275. So the moral of the story there is that if just because you have a motor, like I used to have a Corvette, that car would do 140 miles an hour. But just because I had it doesn't mean I ran around at 140 miles an hour all the time, only some of the time. I'm just kidding. But you get the point, right? You can throttle back by making some changes, and changing your prop out will do it. And so will manipulating your radio configuration. That'll do it as well. So Dave is actually working on thinking about that with his NG. However, after he said he was going to do it, we had a little conversation in the field. He goes, I'm not so sure. Sometimes I kind of want that little extra boost of power. So we'll see. We'll see what he winds up with, what he winds up doing. Let's see. I had Jaqualara. I can't pronounce that one. JC. We're just going to call him JC. Congratulations on the best video explained about this topic and great channel. I have a question and would like your advice. In order not to damage the battery of the plane when establishing alert at the minimum voltage, I've noticed mid-flight the alert sounds, perhaps because the power momentarily increases, and when lowering the plane, I notice the voltage is higher than the established minimum, and that sometimes happens many times during a flight. What can I do about it? That is voltage sag. So I did a video on that because he's right. When you, and that, by the way, the graph that I showed you, let's bring that graph back up. We'll bring the graph back up and we'll put our little iPhone to work here, and I'll show you guys the graph. So what he's referring to is when you have a sudden peak in power consumption right there. See that current spike right there? Look what happens to your voltage. It drops. It drops. That's sag. That's when we say sag, that's what we're talking about. So normally what's happening here is you're hitting it. You're punching the throttle and your current load goes way up like that, and your voltage sags down. Now, on my radio configurations that I use, I set my alerts to work on a sag delay. So in other words, I set a delay in that says you have to be below this threshold for more than 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 seconds. And if you are, then go ahead and play the alarm, because that means I'm probably down there. Now, that said, that alert can go on momentarily, but if it doesn't stay on, then it's probably okay to keep flying. So if you guys listen to the videos and you hear my voltage sag alert go on for a moment, that's simply my radio saying, hey, you're hitting it pretty hard right now. If then I reduce power, if that sag alert goes away, then I know it's okay to keep flying. It's only when that alert comes back on and stays on, even at lower power levels, then it's time to land. So that's the configuration. If you haven't seen that video, you should definitely check it out and just search for voltage sag on the channel and you'll find it. But it's a good observation on his part. He's absolutely correct. Short Circuit 48 says, delighted with this video. It's made me decide I will gain no benefits based on my TX and usage. So I thought this was a fantastic comment, because this is one of the reasons my channel exists. My channel exists not to tell you you need to switch to Edge, although I said in the video title you might regret holding out, and that's true. But notice it doesn't say you should switch to Edge right now, right? It doesn't say that, because I try and avoid that. And the reason I try and avoid that is because it's not my place to tell you what you need. It's your money, your hobby. You do your thing. All I'm trying to do is give you the information. So if the information that I gave out resulted in this individual saying, hey, I watched the video and I decided it's not for me. I don't gain any benefit, so I'm not going to change. Then he can stay in Fred's camp and keep OpenTX. That's fine. It's fine. It's not like I get paid for that. It's not like I get some royalty from the Edge team if people switch. I don't care. Switch, don't switch, whatever. The idea is the information is there. So I like this comment. I'm happy that my video informed this person to make the decision that works for him. Your money, your hobby. All right, Joe Musto says, John, your videos are the best. I learned so much from you. Many thanks. Okay, we back to the top? No, we're just another favorite comment. Thanks, Joe. Very nice comment. See, it's nice to be kind. It's cool to be kind. Be kind. Try and be kind in public. So there we go. Adults, what? Let me see. I'm going to check comments. What do you got going on here? Let's see. Too many squirrels in that comment. What comment? I got to upgrade that. What's going on here? What did I miss? Jeff in Lower Alabama. Let's see. The hills have FPV. Outdated ELRS script is my assumption. Yeah, it could be 2.0 instead of 3.0. I had that issue when I was running old scripts. Yeah. And they tell you right on the screen when you flash ELRS, they tell you right there in the configurator, don't forget to upgrade your Lua, but people don't read stuff. Also make sure the module's enabled. Yeah, we just covered that. Robert, hey, gotta have a sim if you're new. Yep, get that sim, guys. If you don't have a sim, go get one. It's the best money you'll spend in RC, I promise you that. Steve says, I agree. Practice is king, as well as having a good instructor. Yeah, a good instructor is good. And, that's an interesting point. You have to get along with your instructor, too. We have this guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but we have this guy at my old field. And he's like, well, if it's got a stabilizer, and I won't teach him. That's just an idiotic comment as far as I'm concerned. If you're an instructor, the job, if you're an instructor, if you have knowledge and you are capable of being an instructor, is to try and open the hobby to people, not shut damn doors because you have an opinion. So if somebody came to me and said, hey, I want to fly this little UMX with a Spectrum radio and safe, and I need your help, I'd say, okay, fine, let's take a look at it. That's what I would say. And you guys know how I feel about Spectrum, right? I don't care for it. But if somebody asked me for my help, I would give it. So that's the job. If you benefited from somebody's help, then you should try and help others likewise, right? That's the job. So yeah, don't look, if somebody has a gyro, it's your money, your hobby. If somebody wants to fly with a gyro, that's their business. Don't be a Carl about it. You know what I'm saying? Don't be like that. Just help. If a student pilot said, hey, I want to fly this little UMX, E-Flight, whatever, Warbird with this $9,000 Spectrum radio and this $400 3-cell battery, I would say, okay, what can I do to help you? Whatever, you help. That's the idea, right? All right, let's see. I agree. Practice is king. Okay, Jeff in Lower Alabama. I stop in often, just don't chat. Well, thanks for chatting this time, Jeff. Glad you can make it. Fred says my wife walked in on me flashing firmware. Just Fred's wife walked in and he was flashing firmware. We can always count on Fred for a chuckle, man. That was hilarious, dude. Very good. Very good. Too bad she had to see the little dog. Okay, I'm walking past that stuff. I'm leaving that one behind. You guys have fun. It's just me, or is the video quality horrifically compressed? I hope not. It's because I got to tell you right now, I've been seeing 14K solid, and YouTube has been telling me it's just you, dude. It gotta be just you. Check your settings. Make sure you're not on like 420p or something stupid. Let's see. I love your video about the curve though. John, on that question about the 1910. Yeah, you can create a curve. You can and you can put it on a switch. You could actually put it on a switch. You could say, I'll limit my throttle for normal flying and put it on a switch so you don't drink up your power. But if you want to do some 3D XA or something for a little while, you can. I said it just looks that way. Okay, someone lied to me. Oh my gosh, the sag is real. It is real. The sag is real, and we're talking about voltage sag. Let's see. That purple glow against the radio is approaching adult territory. Oh, is it? That's just a little ambiance, a little color. There's purple over there and magenta over there. I could change the colors if you guys don't like it. CALR, caller. Robert, too much maple syrup. The video quality is fixed. It was just a still image of the comments bugging out. Okay, good. All right, so that is it in terms of the Q&A. And next up is coming up. So what's coming up? I can't believe that this has worked so far without any major disruptions, although I'm interested. I'll watch the video on the static images to see if there's a problem there. Hopefully there isn't, but I will check the video afterwards. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about what's coming up. So first up, I want to tell you guys that I have 2 more sponsored videos coming. This one is my friend Jay. So if you guys know the, who makes these things? Flex, right? The Flex, they make the Aura gyros. So my friend Jay, good friend Jay from Arizona, sent me an Aura 8, Potenza Aura 8. So this video is sponsored by Jay. This video, this one, not the live stream. This video is sponsored by Jay. He sent me a Potenza Aura 8 and asked me to try it out. He said, I think you'll like these. So he sent it to me. Told me to put it in an airplane and give it a whirl. And while we're on the subject of gyros, I wanted to show you this one too, because I've been getting questions about this. When you guys found this and FMS put it up on their website, this is the Reflex V3. I've already done some testing. Now, the thing about the Reflex, if you're not familiar with this particular gyro, this one has, the Reflex V2 was really profile driven. So for every FMS plane that they made, as far as I know, you could download a profile for the Reflex V2 and install it. And you didn't have to do any configuration on that at all. You could simply go into your software, put the profile on for the plane that you wanted to use, and the Reflex just worked. Now what they've done is they've opened it up to be configurable. So now you can go in with a phone app over Bluetooth, pair it to the receiver, and make changes so you can configure the Reflex V3 to work with your airplane. So you don't have to have an FMS plane now. And based on the video that we talked about earlier, you guys saw that Reflex V2 did a darn fine job holding everything together on that Cub on that very windy day. So I have the Reflex V3. I've already submitted a bug report on the app to FMS asking them to take a look at it. So they're allegedly, they got to make a fix on the application itself. And once that's done, then I'll be doing the video. But I have it. It's in my hands. I've had it for a little while. I've done some testing already, and we'll be doing a video on that little guy too, the Reflex V3, which is showing up in the on the FMS website. All right, it was on the Q&A. John is when it was doing it. The pixels look mixed up. Yeah, during Q&A. Okay, I'll have to check. I'll have to watch the replay and see what happened. We'll figure it out. So if that's the worst of it, that's not too bad. I can live with that. And then the last thing I wanted to cover was the ET. I told you we'd be talking about this. So if you remember the video on this one, this is the RC Light Systems ETC. It's the ESC telemetry converter. And the idea behind this device is that we can get ESC telemetry on the radio. And what they're doing, if you didn't see the video, is they're using Graupner Hot as a serial protocol to feed the telemetry from the ESC into that little device, and then it's into your receiver rather from this device. So ESC in, Graupner Hot out to your receiver, and you get telemetry. Now that said, Graupner Hot being a supported, it's not part of the main Express LRS configuration yet. It is it's in the master branch. So if you want it, you can configure or compile the master branch or download the master branch binary, flash that, and you'll have Graupner Hot. But the point is that Graupner has sensors, and I bought some. I bought a couple. And the idea behind that is I want to try, the idea behind that is that you can, with the Graupner being a protocol now, we can take those sensors and plug them directly into the receiver without the converter at all. So now the reason that's nice, you may be saying, wait, then why do we need the converter? Because what if the ESC that you want to use is not supported? For example, what if it's an FMS plane? You know, you can use the Graupner sensor and plug it in and put it in line with your battery, in between your battery and ESC, and get voltage and feed that to your radio. Now you might say, well, then why do we need this at all? Why don't we just get rid of that and go with just the Graupner sensor? And the reason is because the Graupner sensor is $75. This is $35 or $40. So it's almost half. Not quite, but almost. So that's the reason. And at the end of the day, it comes down to options. So if this works for you, if you're using ESCs that utilize this technology, that this converter works with, then use one of these because it's 35 bucks. If you're not and you're using, say, a pre-built plane with some generic ESC, then a Graupner sensor might work for you. But keep in mind, it's $75 to $80 for those. So do you really need it at that point? Especially if it's 6S, because if it's 6S, you can already get the voltage, right? It's already there. You can get generally up to 30, 35 volts on the VBAT sensors for Express LRS. So the only thing this really buys you is the current. So do you want to pay 35 bucks for current? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. That's up to you. I can't, your money, your hobby, right? That's the idea. So that is what's coming up there. And then we also have, let's see if I can figure this out. Let's see, coming up. Here we go. This is also coming up. These are FMS planes I told you I already have. And this one is the Ranger. You guys remember the little Ranger, the 1300 millimeter? Fred has that plane now. So Fred flies that around. FMS also sent me that one. That's actually not a, shot. That's not a static shot. That's actually the box in my house. So that's the lid. That's the lid to that airplane that I have in my house. I already have this plane. It's here. And then the next one that I already have is this one, the little 850 millimeter Ranger, which is kind of cool. So these are two airplanes that will be coming up on the channel. Keep an eye out on the channel. We'll be doing an 850 millimeter Ranger. And this one is a ready to fly, by the way, ready to fly airplane model. And the next one, the other one, the full size, is a plug and play. And it says Reflex V2 on there. So it's got a Reflex V2 gyro and it's a plug and play. And I know if you guys listen to Fred fly that Ranger, he loves that plane. He does really well with it. So hopefully those will acquit themselves quite well. I'm sure they will. And thanks to FMS for sending them out for review, of course. So I think that's it. And then, of course, the Wings Over America, which I already told you guys. So that's what's coming up, guys. That's what's heading to the channel soon. And I'm also going to be working on another big plane. So that will be to support the new T-motor stuff. So more to come on that. I'm not ready to talk about what's going to happen there yet. I'm still waiting for some things to kind of come into place, right? But I just wanted you guys to be aware that there's another big plane on the horizon. So that's all I've got for tonight. I hope you guys liked the content. And if you did, I would really appreciate it if you'd smash that thumbs up button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know new videos hit the channel. And make sure I hope you have a great weekend. Make sure you get out there and fly something. That's all I've got for today. Take it easy.